Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. I glanced to the passenger seat at the manifest I was given. Viraclean stamped across the top in big, bold letters. Beneath that, my name, Josh Brown, typed in clean block letters, route numbers, trailer ID, weight listed at just under 32,000 pounds. Cargo listed as biomedical waste. No hazmat placards required. That part struck me as odd. The pickup was clean, clinical, some facility on the outskirts of Harrisburg, way off the main road. Big steel gates. Nobody made eye contact. The trailer was already sealed when I backed up to it. No dock workers, no forklift noise, just a guy in a black windbreaker with a clipboard who waved me on like he couldn't get rid of me fast enough. Felt like one of those government cleanup crews you see after a chemical spill. Except nobody said anything. Didn't even sign a bill of lading. Just got handed the manifest and told, do not open the trailer under any circumstances. Well, no shit. Wasn't planning on it. Still, it stuck with me. Something in the guy's eyes when he said it, like he was saying goodbye. It was already late when I hit I-76. Friday night traffic, but nothing too thick out here yet. The sun was a big red smear on the horizon, bleeding into that hazy layer above the tree line, the kind of sky that makes the bugs come out early. I kept my eyes on the road, both hands on the wheel, trying not to think about the cargo. Still, I kept stealing glances at the mirror. The trailer just looked off. Not leaning, not sagging, just wrong. Too quiet. I've hauled a lot of weird shit. Industrial solvents, animal byproducts. One time I drove a whole trailer full of unshelled peanuts to a zoo in Oklahoma. Don't ask. You get used to the rattle and sway. Weight shifts when you brake, groans when you corner. It's a living machine back there. You can feel it. But this thing rode dead. About 30 minutes in, I switched on my CB, just for the noise. Nothing but static. I flipped channels. Nothing. Even the usual jokers weren't cracking wise about the way stations. That's when I started to feel it. That little itch in the back of your skull. Like something's watching you through a mirror you forgot you owned. I tried not to think about it. Focused on the road. Lit a cigarette. Cracked the window. That's when I caught the first whiff. It wasn't strong. Just a sharp off smell. Like old meat left in a freezer that was unplugged a few hours too long. I looked around the cab, thinking maybe something from lunch had rolled under the seat. But the smell was coming from behind me. The trailer pulled off around exit 232, just a little fuel stop, lights buzzing, some indie trucker rock playing from a busted outdoor speaker. I didn't get out. Something told me not to. I just sat there, engine idling, fingers drumming the wheel. I checked the rear camera. Not required, but I'd had one installed after backing into a loading dock back in 2022. The feed was grainy, black and white, but the trailer was steady. No movement, no leaks, just the occasional flicker of static. I leaned back and rubbed my eyes. Thought about calling dispatch, but what was I gonna say? Hey, the trailer feel spooky, I'd get laughed off the road. Instead, I flipped open the manifest again. Buried near the bottom, below the VIN, under the weight spec, was a code I didn't recognize. PNV14. That wasn't a waste code. I'd never seen it. Even called up a buddy later who used to run government contracts. He hadn't either. Right below it, in faded ink, a smaller stamp. No transfer, no access, no surviving contents. I read that last line 3 times. No surviving contents. The hell does that even mean? By the time I got back on the road, the smell had faded. Maybe I imagined it. The night had settled in full by now. Dashboard glowing soft red. The hum of the wheels steady. My coffee was still warm in the cup holder. I started to relax. A little. Enough to crack a window and tune the CB one more time. That's when I heard it. Unit 47, cargo integrity compromised. The voice crackled once, then vanished. I froze, glanced at the CB. It wasn't even transmitting. Could have been bleed over from another line. A prank. Happens sometimes. Still, Unit 47. That's me. Manifest said as much. I was gripping the wheel tight, palms starting to sweat. I could hear my own heartbeat over the hum of the tires. Then something thumped, just once, from the trailer, hard enough to shake the cab. I looked in the mirror. Nothing, just the trailer rolling smooth behind me. Another thump, this time lighter. Then, nothing. I pulled over. Emergency lane. Hit the flashers. Sat there for a full minute, breathing. I got out. Walked around to the back, flashlight in hand. The air was colder than it should have been. Still, no crickets. Just the sound of cars whipping by in the opposite lane. A few honked. One slowed down. I ignored them. The trailer doors were still locked. Triple sealed with stainless latch brackets. Bolts still in place. No dents. No damage. But I put my hand to the wall and felt it. Faint, but real. A vibration, not constant, not mechanical, like something breathing. I got back in the truck and locked the doors. Didn't say a word the rest of the drive. Not to myself, not to the CB. Just watched the road and tried to forget the feel of that metal flexing under my palm. I didn't sleep that night. Just drove west. And I kept checking the mirror. Because I swear once or twice, I saw something in the reflection that wasn't me. Somewhere outside of Pittsburgh, the smell came back. Not strong at first, just a hint. Like roadkill someone scraped off the pavement a few hours too late. But it got worse the longer I sat in it. Got into the vents, coated the inside of my throat. I kept clearing it, trying not to gag. It was like the stench had fingers. I cracked the window, but that didn't help either. All it did was let the cold in. Felt like the air was pushing in, not out. I glanced at the manifest again. I don't know why. I already knew what it said. But something about that PNV14 code had started to bother me, like I should have remembered it from somewhere, Or maybe I'd heard someone else say it once and my brain was just too tired to place it. I took a picture of it with my phone, thought maybe I'd search it later. Maybe. It was about 9:45 p.m. when I rolled into a rest stop just past Irwin. Just a couple trucks parked, some neon buzzing over a busted vending machine. I killed the engine and sat in the dark for a minute. No music, no CB, just the tick of cooling metal and the pulse in my ears. I climbed into the sleeper and grabbed a protein bar, tore into it without even tasting. That's when I noticed my hands were shaking. I've never been a jumpy guy. I've hauled all-nighters through ice storms, dodged tornado warnings, outrun a meth head in a Prius once who thought I clipped his bumper. You get hardened to weird on the road. But this was different. I didn't feel like I was hauling cargo. I felt like I was being followed, and the thing doing the following was inside the goddamn trailer. I pulled out my burner. Every trucker's got one, and called an old contact from back in Kansas. Guy named Richie. Used to run defense contracts before they dropped him for asking too many questions. If anyone would know what PNV-14 meant, it was Richie. He didn't answer, just rang and rang, then clicked to voicemail. But the voicemail wasn't his voice. It was static, not even garbled, just hiss. I hung up. The second I did, my CB crackled to life. Not a full signal, just enough to catch a whisper. Brown, they're not dead. Then silence. I spun around so fast I smacked my knee on the console. The trailer was still dark, still sealed, no movement, but I couldn't shake that voice. I know I heard it. It sounded like Richie, but tired, like he'd been crying. I turned the ignition, kicked on the lights, and got the hell out of that rest stop. I told myself it was just highway madness, sleep deprivation, phantom audio. You can hallucinate a voice if you're tired enough and alone long enough. But that stench, that was real, and it was getting worse. Heading into the city was always the plan. Loop through the interstate and cut south before Chicago proper. But traffic had different ideas. There was a crash up ahead. Wrecked SUV, 3-car pileup, cop lights flashing a mile off. GPS chirped, then rerouted me onto an old arterial road threading through downtown. I cursed under my breath. Tight turns, low lights, Friday night. I could already feel the street getting tighter. Buses, pedestrians, bar crowds spilling into the crosswalks. Some jackass in a costume dancing with a sign for a pizza place. People everywhere. Too many people. The trailer thumped. Harder this time. A weight slam. The whole rig shifted under it. I checked my side mirror. Nothing unusual. No flashing lights. No alarms. Just the noise and that rotting stench leaking into the cab like fog under a door. I wanted to pull over, but I was boxed in tight. Sedan on the left. Box truck on my right. Nowhere to go. I tapped the wheel. Adjusted my mirrors. Took a breath. I looked back down at the manifest. That's when everything snapped. A sound like a cannon went off behind me. Sharp, close, metal shrieking as a section of the trailer exploded outward. The whole cab jolted forward. Glass rattled. The steering wheel jerked left in my grip. Horns were screaming outside. Tires screeched. I slammed the brakes and twisted hard, barely keeping the truck from side-swiping a family van. A blur of something spilled into the intersection behind me. At first, it looked like luggage, bags, canvas, black shapes. But then they started moving. People were running, screaming. Somebody pounded on my passenger door, begging to be let in, then got dragged backward. I couldn't see clearly, not yet, but I knew. The trailer was open, and what came out of it was not dead. The smell hit me first, wet rot and hot meat, followed by screams so loud they rattled my teeth. I yanked the emergency brake, shoved the door open, and jumped out. My boots hit asphalt hard, knees locking. Traffic had turned into a parking lot. Horns blared. People were shoving each other between bumpers. I ran to the back of the trailer, or what was left of it. The rear right quarter had blown clean open, metal peeled back like a soup can. Something, some kind of charge, had been built right into the frame, controlled, focused, not an accident. And from that wound in the steel, they were pouring out, not falling, climbing. First came arms, grayish, waxy, twitching like they didn't remember how joints were supposed to bend. Then heads, hair stuck to faces, blank stares, maws unhinged, wide and hungry. They were naked mostly, some wrapped in shredded plastic. Some still had toe tags, corpses, but wrong, swollen and stiff, and leaking black fluid from every orifice. One was missing half its jaw and still tried to bite. I didn't move. Not right away. Just stood there, watching. Then one of them looked at me. Not saw. Looked. No recognition, no hesitation. It dropped to the pavement and began crawling, fast, elbows pulling it like a spider with snapped legs. That snapped me out of it. I bolted to the cab, slammed the door, locked it. That thing was already at the step rail, slapping the door with split fingers, trying to find purchase. I reached down and yanked Old Convincer from under the seat, a 34-inch aluminum bat wrapped in black grip tape, custom, balanced, made for one thing. I cracked the door open just enough and swung. Caught it in the side of the head, skull split like wet drywall. It collapsed, still twitching. I threw the door open and followed. The intersection had gone full hellscape. Cars jammed up in every direction, people running over hoods. One guy got dragged from his open Jeep, kicking and screaming. His head hit the ground, and they ripped into him before his legs stopped moving. A woman in heels sprinted past me, crying, one hand clutching her neck, blood spraying between her fingers. She didn't make it 10 feet before 3 of them pulled her down. I looked around for cops. Nothing. Sirens, but distant, too far. I turned back toward the trailer. More were coming. At least 30 had spilled out now, and I knew that wasn't all. I ran around to the back of the cab, opened the side locker, and grabbed 3 things: a heavy-duty crowbar, my tool belt, leather with a hammer loop, a box of road flares. Last thing I did was grab the fire extinguisher bolted to the rear. I ran. Didn't matter where, just away from the rig. Tried to cut through a line of delivery vans when I saw her, little girl. Couldn't have been more than 8, sitting in the back seat of a Tesla, buckled in, crying. The driver's side door was hanging open, and her mom was... Christ. Her mom was being eaten 10 feet away, half in the car, half out, like she'd been pulled through a window. The girl saw me. She didn't scream. She just locked eyes, pleading. I made a choice. I smashed the back window with the crowbar, unlocked the door, and pulled her out. She grabbed me tight, didn't say a word, just held on. I ran with her in my arms, ducking through parked cars, cutting through alleyways. One of them chased us, skin split wide open down the spine, dragging a crushed foot. But I kicked a trash can into its path and it tripped, face planting with a sickening crack. Eventually, I found a fire crew staging near a barricade 2 blocks down. First responders. No idea what they were dealing with yet. I shoved the girl toward a medic and said, "Don't ask. Just don't let her die." They nodded. One of them tried to stop me. I didn't let them. I went back. I don't know why, but the rig was still there. The trailer now half collapsed. The horde was moving outward like spilled oil, shambling and staggering, stopping only to fall on anyone too slow to run. I couldn't let them keep spreading. So I did the only thing I could. I unclipped the fire extinguisher, cracked a flare, and wedged it into the valve groove. Then I jammed the whole rig under the leaking diesel tank beneath the trailer. It took a second. Then, phoom, the fire lit up the whole block. A rolling bloom of heat and pressure. Not enough to blow buildings, but enough to fry what hadn't already crawled out. I stood across the street behind a flipped sedan, breathing hard, watching flames pour out the trailer like it was bleeding orange light. Shadows flickered, bodies spasmed and fell still. Sirens were everywhere now, and still no one asked the right question. Where did they come from? I walked away from the rig, smoke on my clothes, blood on my hands, still holding the crowbar. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. The answer was in the manifest, and Vira Clean knew the whole time. I didn't go to the drop-off, didn't even consider it. Chicago was less than 20 miles out when the trailer burst, and the highway was wide open again by the time I left the girl with the medics. I could have made the stop. Hell, it was already paid for. But no, that wasn't the job anymore, not after what spilled out. I took the next off-ramp that didn't have cops at the bottom. Industrial area, mostly closed shops. A couple factories with dark windows and full parking lots. Night shift. I found a loading dock behind a chain-link fence, busted the padlock with the crowbar, and backed the truck in, slow and silent. No trailer anymore. Just the cab and a handful of soaked tools. I sat in the driver's seat for almost 10 minutes without moving. Eyes locked on the dark in front of me, one hand still resting on the gear shift like I might suddenly throw it in drive and keep going west. But I didn't. I opened the glove box, pulled out the real manifest, not the one Vira Clean gave me, the real one, still in its original sealed envelope marked, "For receiver only." I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. It wasn't a manifest. It was a mortality log. Pages of medical records, cross-referenced patient ID tags, not names, Just numbers, batch codes, expiration times, each marked "Do not revive," not "Do not resuscitate," "Do not revive." I dumped it all in a paint bucket I found by the dock, soaked the papers in diesel, and lit a match, watched it burn with my back to the wind, took a picture of the flame and texted it to my burner number, just so I'd never forget the smell. I stared at the fire and muttered under my breath, "If I ever see that name again, I swear to God." Because at the bottom of every page, in faint red ink, same company mark, Vira Clean Solutions. By the time the fire burned out, I knew I couldn't go home. Not yet, maybe not ever. You don't survive something like this and walk into a diner the next day like it never happened. You don't make it through whatever the hell that was and keep driving like you're just another wheel on the road. They'd find me if I went home. Not the cops, them. Whoever signed off on a shipment full of twitching corpses and set it loose in the middle of a city. Whoever designed that trailer to blow just enough to spill without drawing national attention. It wasn't sabotage. It was controlled, deliberate, tested, like they wanted to see what would happen. So I disappeared, left the truck right there, engine cold, wiped it down, took my tools, my crowbar, and the flare gun, ditched my burner, pried the dash cam out with the claw end of the hammer and smashed it flat, left the pieces scattered like roadkill, walked 3 miles to a Greyhound stop and bought a ticket with cash under a different name. And that was that. Josh Brown, trucker of Unit 47, gone. But I'm still out here. And I kept the picture of the manifest, because someone's got to know what really started this. Because someone's gonna ask where the infection began, and when they do, I'll be ready. Internal memo redacted from Vira Clean Emergency Oversight Division. To all PNV-14 logistics units. Subject: Chicago incident, limited exposure. Subject Brown survived. Trailer detonation occurred on schedule. Outbreak exposure deemed contained for media management purposes. Civilian casualties within statistical tolerance. Local networks supplied with synthetic footage and crisis narrative. Containment perimeter enacted via DHS proxy. Asset Brown flagged for retrieval or recruitment. Risk level, medium. Recommend passive surveillance until further directive issued. Redaction complete. End transmission.